deep dive. We're taking a closer look at AI art today, specifically the legal side of things. You sent over this report from the US Copyright Office, Smart Move, because there are a lot of questions about copyright and all this amazing AI art popping up.
It's a hot topic for sure. AI and copyright are definitely bumping up against each other.
So let's just jump right in. Can you copyright AI art? What's the deal?
Well, the report actually says that U.S. copyright law does protect some AI-generated art.
But not all of it.
Right, not all of it.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. This is where it gets kind of tricky, right?
Uh-huh.
The report talks about needing human input, something beyond just typing in text prompts. Can you break that down for us?
Absolutely. It boils down to original works of authorship. That's what U.S. copyright law protects. And the Copyright Office argues that if you're only using text prompts, it doesn't quite reach that level of originality.
So even if I spend, like, hours creating the most detailed text prompt imaginable, describing every single detail, the Copyright Office might not see it as my original work.
Yeah, that's basically it. The thinking is that even with super specific prompts, the AI is still making a lot of creative choices on its own based on what you give it. So you're kind of guiding the AI's creativity, but not actually directly creating the art yourself.
So it's almost like taking a picture. You don't create the landscape or the people, you just capture it.
That's a perfect analogy. The report actually makes that exact comparison. It's like you're capturing the AI's output, just like a photographer captures a moment with their camera.
That makes sense. But there has to be a way to make it copyrightable, right? There has to be something we can do.
You're right, and the report addresses that. They're clear that if you add in a visual element that you create, that changes things a lot.
Okay, so like what?
Well, even something simple, like a rough sketch, a basic visual concept, even a mood board can be enough if you use that along with your text prompt.
So say I sketch out this super basic robot and then use that with some text prompts to generate like a futuristic city with the AI.
Yeah.
That would make my artwork copyrightable.
Most likely, yes. Because you started with that visual, the robot sketch, the final artwork is more of a collaboration between you and the AI. It mixes your original visual idea with the AI's execution.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there are still some blurry lines, right? Where's the line between like a super detailed text prompt and a basic visual concept?
That's a great question. That's going to be a big area of debate as things move forward. We'll probably see this distinction tested in court as AI art gets more popular and people want to protect what they create.
So it sounds like we're still in the early stages of figuring all of this out. This is a lot for artists to consider as they're using these tools. What are the implications for them?
That's a really important question, and it's something everyone working with AI art needs to think about. We'll dig into the implications and some strategies for navigating copyright in part 2 of our deep dive.
So we've established that copywriting AI art hinges on that human visual element. What does this mean practically for artists who are using AI tools? Should they be worried about all this?
I wouldn't say worried, but definitely informed. This distinction from the Copyright Office is pretty significant for the art world. Artists who really want to protect their work need to be smart about how they're using AI.
So it's less about avoiding AI entirely and more about figuring out how to use it while maintaining ownership of your creations, right?
Exactly. AI tools are amazing. They can really unlock creativity and help artists push boundaries. It would be a shame to see people shy away from them because of copyright issues. So yeah, let's focus on ways to use AI that eliminate that copyright worry.
Okay, love that approach. What are some of the strategies?
One way is to shift your thinking and see the AI as a collaborator rather than just a tool. Don't just feed it text prompts. Try bringing your own visual ideas into the mix.
Interesting. So like what kinds of things?
Could be anything. A rough sketch, a digital collage, heck, even a 3D model. Anything visual that's coming from you.
So you're using AI to enhance your existing artistic vision, not letting it dictate the whole creative direction.
You got it. It's all about maintaining a clear sense of authorship throughout the process. Remember that robot doodle example we talked about? That's a perfect example of how a simple visual can make all the difference in terms of copyright.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. But what about artists who are really comfortable with text prompts? Any way to use those effectively while still being copyright savvy?
For sure. The trick is to be very intentional and super specific. Instead of generic prompts, create those really detailed descriptions that showcase your unique style.
Like go all out and describe everything.
Pretty much. Think about specific color palettes, the kinds of brushstrokes you'd use, textures, the composition. anything that makes your art distinctly yours.
So it's almost like treating text prompts like directions, the way a director would give detailed instructions to their film crew.
Exactly. The more specific and intentional your prompts, the stronger your case for copyright is going to be.
This is all really helpful, but I can't help but wonder, does this focus on copyright kind of stifle creativity? Are we going to see artists get so hung up on legal stuff that they lose the joy of experimentation?
That's a valid concern, for sure. It's all about balance. Understanding copyright is important, but it shouldn't take over the whole creative process. Remember, these AI tools are meant to unlock possibilities and help artists push their limits.
Right, so be mindful of copyright, use AI strategically, but most importantly, don't let legal concerns hold you back from creating.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And one last thing to remember. As AI tech evolves, copyright law will likely evolve with it. It's a dynamic landscape, so stay informed, be curious, and never stop creating.
Speaking of evolving technology, you mentioned AI slop earlier. What is that? How does it relate to all this?
Ah, yes. AI slop. It's a term that's been floating around to describe those lower quality, sometimes bizarre AI-generated images you see popping up online.
Like those weird faces, right? I've seen those going around. Is that stuff even copyrightable?
It's a good question. The thing is, AI slop often lacks that intentional human element we've been discussing. It's like the creators are using really basic prompts or just letting the AI do its own thing, which leads to unpredictable, often kind of strange results.
So that makes it harder to argue for copyright because it's tough to show that connection between the creator's vision and the final output.
Right. It highlights the potential pitfalls of relying too heavily on AI without that human touch. You need to actively guide the tech and infuse your creative vision to create copyrightable AI art.
This is all leading to some really interesting questions about the bigger picture, and I think it's a good place to pause and pick it up in part 3. We've been talking about practicalities, but this tech really pushes us to think about the future of art, what creativity even means, and what it means to be human in a world where machines are creating.
Definitely. We're just scratching the surface here. This landscape is evolving so quickly. It's a fascinating time to be exploring all this.
Okay, so we've explored a lot in this deep dive. We've looked at the Copyright Office's take on AI art, how important that human touch is for copyright, and even talked about AI slop and all its weirdness.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned before, how copyright law might change as AI gets, well, more advanced.
It's a big one for sure. AI is evolving so quickly, and copyright law is going to have to keep up.
Right, like how do you even define authorship when you have these machines that can create? It really makes you think.
It's a huge question, and it's something legal experts, artists, policymakers, everyone's grappling with it right now. Like some people say AI should be seen as its own creative entity, like it deserves some kind of copyright protection itself. But then others think copyright should always be about human creation, even when AI is in the mix.
It feels like we're in this totally new territory where everything we thought we knew about art and creation is being, like, flipped on its head.
Totally. And it goes way beyond just the legal stuff. There are big ethical and philosophical questions here, too. How do we make sure AI is used ethically in the creative process? Like, how do we value human creativity when machines are out there making art that, honestly, sometimes looks just like something a person made?
Those are some heavy questions, and ones we probably can't answer in our deep dive today. But they're definitely something for all our listeners to think about as they explore this wild world of AI art.
Absolutely. This is really just the beginning of a much bigger conversation, one that we all need to be a part of as this technology keeps advancing. So yeah, stay curious, keep learning, and keep creating. Who knows what amazing stuff we'll see in the next few years.
And that's a wrap on our AI art and copyright deep dive. We hope this has cleared up some of the legal stuff and given you plenty to think about as you explore this new creative frontier. Until next time, happy creating, everyone.